Give me them good times. Give me them good times. Give me them good times. Give me them good times.
What is up, Lake City, and welcome back to Spokecast. I'm your host, Brennan Pointer, and first off, shout out to my good friend Jinx Universe for letting me use his song Good Times as the intro to this episode. Go stream it wherever you listen to music. Well, welcome to Volume Week. For those who don't know what Volume is, it is an Inlander-founded music festival that's been a beacon of local, regional, and national bands and is making its return after 5 years. For the first time since 2019, Volume will be going on at a ton of venues downtown Spokane on September 13th and 14th for 2 nights of live music. And this year, the festival is being spearheaded by local talent buyer Riker and their business partner Brayton Dawson, alongside Joel Barber of the Great P&W. So I just got to say, personally, it's amazing to have Volume back, and I'm so excited to be able to go and check out all the shows this Friday and Saturday. And you heard it here first, Spokecast listeners. I'm going to be hopping around all the venues with my friends Jazz Boyd and Spicy Ketchup this Saturday, and we'll be hosting live interviews with musicians, organizers, festival goers throughout the day. And we want to use this opportunity to get at the heart of the Spokane music scene and talk about why Spokane needs more events like Volume. For more details on who's performing or to grab your tickets, head on over to volumespokane.com. Speaking of musicians, today's guest is none other than Matt Legard of The Colourflies, who will be performing during Volume at Mootsy's this Friday at 5:50 p.m. And today we're going to dive into the life of Matt. Matt is a Spokane native with roots in Coeur d'Alene and Post Falls, and he joins us to explore his unique journey from a young, attention-loving school kid to a renowned musician. His eclectic taste in music, shaped by his family influences and a diverse array of artists, has crafted The Colourflies' distinctive sound. And Matt's story is a testament to the power of passion and creativity in the music world. And today, he not only shares his journey, but also gives us a sneak peek into what's next for The Colourflies, including their much-anticipated new album and upcoming local performances. Well, I will not keep you any longer. Here is Matt Legard of The Colourflies. This is Spokecast. And stay around for the end of the podcast. Matt will perform a couple of original songs from The Colourflies. But I am sitting here with Matt Legard of The Colourflies. Thank you for joining me on Spokecast today.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's a Monday. It's like summer. It's hot outside. I'm grateful for AC, the little that I have in here.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for reaching out to me about being on Spokecast.
Yeah,
and
totally.
In fact, I always like to start off with like saying like how I kind of got connected. I think you reached out originally.
I did, yeah.
But then our mutual friend Lauren,
Yes.
LC. I always want to. Now I'm always going to want to call her Lauren Conrad, which is not her last name.
Our whole friendship has just been LC. And gifts of Lauren Conrad in the hills, and we've watched the
That's
hills.
funny.
Yeah.
But she mentioned that she saw you at Pride.
Mm-hmm.
Saw Colourflies at Pride and said you were amazing.
Oh.
And so I was, and then it kind of connected. I was like, oh, this is great. I love getting a little bit of like, I get a lot of people who reach out and want to be on the podcast, but when I have friends who, vouch, like I always try to get someone that vouches for a guest. And, but I appreciate the patience of me finally getting you on the podcast. But the first question I always like to start off with on Spokecast is, are you born and raised here, or are you a transplant? Where'd you come from to get to Spokane?
Okay, so I am a Spokaneite.
Okay.
I was born here, and I was here until my parents got divorced, and then we moved. I moved with my dad's new wife to Coeur d'Alene.
Oh, okay.
But I came back.
Yeah.
I've been back for like 9 years.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
So you've been in the region the whole time.
Oh yeah. Well, and every other weekend I'd come see my mom.
Okay. So you went to school in Coeur d'Alene.
Yeah, and Post Falls.
In Post Falls. How was that? How was going to school? And
it is as weird as you might imagine it being,
right.
Not being white,
Mm-hmm.
I suppose. Like it was like, I don't know. Like it was. I think it shaped who I am. So it's like, it's not like I'm necessarily complaining about it, but it's like there was no diversity.
Yeah.
Like I was the only non-white kid in like, I think my elementary school. For
Wow.
Like maybe like there was like another kid, but like I was like, so yeah, it was strange. So it's like, you know, when you're a kid, sometimes like you just want to blend in and you just want to be normal and be treated normal. It's like that was not an option. So
definitely,
my reaction was to become kind of the class clown. You know, like if you're gonna give me all this attention anyway,
I'm just gonna
gonna run with it. And then I was in these gifted classes and stuff like that. So I already had like a target on my back my whole like young life, pretty much.
Yeah, no, I it's always interesting to hear people's perspective of growing up in Spokane, especially if they are not white, especially a person of color, because I mean, I'm the same in that I grew up on the north side of Spokane with the Mount Spokane, Colbert. There might have been 3 or 4 people of color, kids of color, like when of growing up, and it was very like they did get extra attention from other kids, and good or bad.
Yeah, totally.
And so I can't ever describe how you feel, but I imagine it has to be, and especially North Idaho. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know what's crazy is I would hang out because like my stepmom had this friend who lived in Hayden, and she lived down the street from Richard Butler.
Oh wow,
the guy, the KKK guy. And I remember just walking down that street, like, and he was sitting on his porch, just looking at me, leering at me as I was walking by.
Yeah.
And his wife was out there too. It's wild times, like to think about.
That is
now,
wild. Yeah.
Where it's like,
how is it now since you've grown up? Is it better for you, or is it? I always kind of skate past this question with people of color, just because and black people, and like just because I don't know how to ask the questions, but it's something that I'm hearing is getting better. Like diversity in Spokane is getting better, but that doesn't mean that racism and how people of color are treated is any better.
It doesn't. A lot of times, it doesn't really figure into my life anymore. Like, which is probably a good thing.
Yeah,
I think that's like, you know, I think I remember the first time we were on radio when I was living in Idaho and stuff like that. We were being played on this like, it's called Shoe Sale. It was like this pirate radio station.
Oh, cool.
And somebody the next day, I was playing a gig or something, when somebody came up, and I think he was in a band with us or around our area. And he said, "Yeah, I heard you on the radio, but why do you sound like a 25-year-old white guy?" And I was just like, well, it's like my voice. Like, I just sound like myself. You know what I mean? It was just, I was not 25 then. I was young, you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
So it was just like, it was just things like that. Sometimes you get these things that are like, you know, this is the kind of music you should do. And then there's the total opposite where it's like, you think that the fact that I'm in an alternative rock band and have been since I was a teenager, and it's the same band, you know, you'd think that like that would have been at some point a focus of the band, is that the diversity, and we had a, you know, female bass player and, you know, Native American drummer and all sorts of stuff. But it's like you think that kind of diversity would be showcased and kind of highlighted in a positive way, and it just wasn't.
Right.
Like ever.
Oh.
Like there was never like I don't think I've ever gotten like any breaks from it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like as far as being treated positively. It's not like somebody knocked on my door and gave me a magazine cover because I wasn't white.
Right.
You know what I mean? I worked really hard to even get, you know,
to where you are today.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of people come from two sides of the issue where it's like you're treated a certain way because you're not, you know, because you're ethnically diverse, or you're, you know.
But yeah, I should ask about your like musical upbringing, because like often people would say like, I mean, like someone of color who's in rock would think like, oh, like they're doing it different. They should be in their own box of like R&B or rap or whatever, which is not true at all. Like I don't think music knows color.
No.
And And you just are drawn to probably what you listened to growing up or what you like loved. Like, what did you listen to growing up? Like, what were you into?
I remember a long time ago before I even knew I knew who Donald Glover was because he was in Derek Comedy and stuff like that. But before Childish Gambino, this is when Donald Glover was doing stand up, and I hadn't seen this, but our bass player Matey was watching it like a long, long time ago. I think it was like we were in high school maybe, or it was like right outside of it or whatever. And she was like, Donald Glover said in this comedy special, I actually enjoy the soulful stylings of the Cranberries. And she's like, I thought of you immediately.
That's amazing.
Because that's like. Because like people expect you to be, and I love hip hop and rap, and like I love that stuff. Probably, my musical taste is pretty balanced. It's as much as I love heavy screaming rock, and like alternative rock. I love like country, and I love rap and hip hop and new wave, and So just growing up, I remember the first stuff I was listening to was probably Graceland by Paul Simon. My uncle was way into it, and he also played like the Lemonheads and stuff like that, whom I love. And now Evan Dando, who did some of the artwork on our album, actually the lead singer of the Lemonheads, his mother is like my adopted mother now.
Oh, really?
She didn't really adopt me, but she's the greatest. Susie Dando. Cool. She was a model in the 70s, and now I think she's a real estate agent in Boston, and she's great. And so kind of alternative, Graceland, like sort of world music. I like loved like Hit the Road Jack. So I listened to the oldies. I loved like Help Me Rhonda, and like Loving Spoonful. I like loved Summer in the City. I loved that song. So just anything, I was like a really, sort of like I just absorbed everything I heard. Yeah. And I think musically you can kind of tell, like it's just whatever it is like, it's like TV show theme songs and like, tertiary music in like a commercial or something like that. Like just stuff like that. Like I've absorbed into and I can't really help it coming out in the music. And so that's why we play all sorts of styles of music, because I always thought like, even when I started the band when I was like 16, I was like, well, why would we want to just play this one style of music? Yeah.
Kind of be genreless.
I kind of wanted to just every song to be a different genre.
That's awesome.
So you could play a heavy metal song and then turn around and play a Fleetwood Mac pop song. And then on our first record, in fact, which we recorded when we were in high school, it has those sensibilities. Like there's a song called Stood You, which is like Fleetwood Mac-ish, Matthew Sweet style almost. And then, turn around, there's a song called Got Milk, which is like a heavy metal, almost Sepultura looking riff rock song. Yeah. With screaming and,
So what did you, like when you were younger, did you get into playing the guitar at an early age or like playing music at an early age, or where did you pick that up?
I wanted to be an engineer. Oh, really? I wanted to be an inventor. I was like a Science Bowl kid and like a robotics kid. And in fact, I went to state for robotics in high school with our team. And shout out to Jonathan, because he's listening. He was a robotics nerd, and Enmar also, and Lorenzen. But yeah, I wanted to be like an inventor and engineer. Like I wanted to go to school for that, and I was like college bound for sure. And then sort of like I just on a whim was like, well, I'm doing this robotics thing. Why don't I take guitar? And then I got into guitar in school, and I took like a beginner guitar thing, and I took like, I feel like I was in that class for like a week, and then I was just like, okay, I've learned enough.
Oh, really?
I think I dropped the class. I don't think I'd stuck it out.
I think I picked it up that quickly.
I think, for whatever reason, it was just kind of there.
It's impressive.
And then I remember I had this neck, because I didn't have a guitar. I had this, my friend was in a band, and I was in awe of him playing stuff. He had smashed a guitar, and like there was this half a body, and it had the neck on it, and it had like 3 strings on it. And I was at their house one time, and I was like, hey, can I have this? He's like, why would I want that? Yeah, you can have that. So I would take that and I would practice on that. And I remember like taking that and like learning When I Come Around and like About a Girl and like trying to do like Jimi Hendrix, learn on this 3-stringed thing that was just terrible. And
That's amazing.
And then I eventually got my own kind of guitar. I eventually got like a terrible acoustic guitar. And because the guitar was so bad, by the time I got on a real guitar, I could kind of fly on it, like, because it's so hard to play.
Like there's a noticeable difference between like a crappy guitar versus a really good guitar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know. I like,
yes.
My parents, I was in like youth group when I was like in high school. Sorry, Mom, if I'm telling the story and you don't like it. But they bought me this really nice, like, I don't know if it was like a Gibson guitar. Like I just like a nice acoustic guitar that had like, and probably spent way too much money on it. And thinking that since I'm in youth group and I'm a leader, that I was gonna like become like I needed to learn how to become a youth leader that could play guitar. Yeah. And I thought I needed to do that. And the only thing I ever learned how to play was like not Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, but it basically the like hot cross buns or like something like that. And I can still play it, but that's as far as I got in the book. I wish I would have took lessons, but it is like I never knew there was a difference between like a shitty guitar and a nice guitar.
I actually remember one of the main reasons I went to youth group, besides the fact that they had a skate park and I also skateboard,
right,
was that there was a guy in our school named Shaler, and he played guitar for the youth group, and I would just any person that was playing guitar live I would go see, because I was just so in awe of the instrument and just the sound of guitar. I became obsessed pretty much. I'm still kind of obsessed, like, but back then I was just like your 10,000 hours or whatever,
right? 10,000, yeah.
Like,
Malcolm Gladwell, yeah.
It's just there's no way that I haven't put in. It's like, so, and I was like so into every type of guitar. So every type of sound of guitar. So he's playing like with the youth group. So he's playing chords with a capo and stuff like that. And I would just listen to him and then, hey, can I play your guitar for a little bit while you're off stage or whatever?
Right.
So I would jam on it and whatever. And it was cool. And then I got way into like Metallica and just like kind of more technical, things. But, I actually saw a band that like was really bad that was in our high school. Really, really bad. And I was like, well, I could do that. Like, and they were kind of our friends. And I was like, well, I was going to their gigs and I was like, well, I could kind of do this. And at the same time I was teaching myself guitar, I actually taught myself drums.
Oh, wow.
So I would just lock myself in the band room after school for 4 hours until my dad would pick me up, and steal a pair of drumsticks from like a band locker and just play the school drum set with my headphones on, and just kind of learn. And then I made my own demos, and then that's when I formed the band pretty much.
So you were just doing it all, and then that's cool.
I was really inspired by the first Foo Fighters album because Dave Grohl had done everything.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
which I thought was insane, and that was that album really changed my musical trajectory because I was like, sort of writing like, kind of like punk, like fast stuff at first, and then when I heard how diverse that album was, I was like. I got it for a Christmas present from my friend Becca at a Christmas party, and I just kind of changed everything.
Yeah,
I just was like, I could do this, I think.
So that kind of led to the formation of the Colourflies.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I want to talk all about the Colourflies and the origins of that, but first I want to take a quick break and talk about
our sponsor.
Our sponsor, Liquid Death and Topo Chico. Cheers. Cheers, by the way.
It's the most alien way of cheers I've ever done in my life.
And I don't think you're supposed to cheers water.
Probably not.
I think that's, but that might just be an old something tale. I want to play a game. It's a name association game. I'm going to say a word, and you're going to say the first word that comes to your mind as it relates to Spokane.
Yes, and
the first word I always start with is park.
Riverfront.
Coffee.
Atticus.
Burger.
Ooh, Dick's.
Shopping.
Northtown.
Do you drink beer?
I have been known to have a beer on tour.
Brewery.
Oh, gee, I don't know. See, that's
Okay.
I don't even know.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm talking Coors.
Ooh. Sweet treats.
Oh, well, Atticus again, probably.
Yeah. Breakfast. Not. I always say this wrong, but like breakfast / brunch. Where are you getting it?
Oh, Ferguson's or Zozo's.
Oh, definitely. Neighborhood.
E Sharp.
Visual artist.
Oh, Ruth McRae.
Ooh. Pizza.
I don't eat much pizza. Oh, David's. Yeah.
Music venue.
Nito.
And well, I'll add another one to this after this one. I was going to say this is the last one, but the event.
Bloomsday.
And then musical artist.
Of Spokane, kind of Black Happy.
Oh, I've never heard of them.
They're old. They were an old band that actually kind of made it. Like they kind of like were a big band in the past.
Okay.
So
what
also Jimi Hendrix came and played here.
Oh, did he really? Oh,
Yeah.
he played at the. I'm guessing he played at the Coliseum
With Vanilla Fudge.
Oh, really?
There's like a poster. I saw it. Like
Interesting.
it's really cool. I think it's like kind of a really cool historical thing.
My buddy Chris Bovey did a Hendrix.
Also, Sammy
poster.
Hagar, Joe Albee.
Oh, he
like
did,
Monsters
yeah.
of Rock.
Elvis did Joe Albee as well, and then Nirvana did the Coliseum.
You know what's crazy about the Nirvana doing the Coliseum thing? Somebody told me, I was on the road and I was like, oh, yeah, I'm from Spokane. They're like, oh, Nirvana played there. I was like, what? No way. And then like I looked it up on YouTube. The video is on YouTube.
Oh, really?
Somebody uploaded a video of Nirvana playing at Spokane on YouTube, and it's pretty good quality.
That's interesting.
93 in utero.
I wonder if it is a friend of the podcast. He spent a lot of time in Olympia and around where Nirvana was when they were getting big, and he did a lot of behind the scenes stuff.
Oh wow! Okay.
And but why can't I think of his name right now? And I also believe that Nirvana possibly came through here and played smaller places. Like there used to be right across the street here on Main. There used to be an old shop, like a car shop, and it might be where Coco is right now in Zola's. That used to be. I think that might have been an old car shop, and they would do shows in there.
Do you remember Cars Corner?
Yeah,
Local H came and played that, and I thought that was insane.
Really? Yeah, I never went to a show there.
We played there, and it was like,
yeah,
it's tiny.
It was very tiny stage, but I heard it got very raucous in there.
It was crazy.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
No, I love talking about old stuff, old shows that happen in Spokane, because I feel like we have a rich history of good rock bands coming through Spokane, and I guess it's still happening.
I played it when I was on KYRS a while ago, but I have this CD I found at a record store, and it's like the best of Spokane rock or whatever artist from like 2000.
Interesting.
And that CD is worth its weight in gold.
Who's on it?
So like there's the Trailer Park Girls, there's which I didn't realize that some of these bands are still active.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
I've heard of them.
They have this song called Spokane, and it's amazing. I'll have to send it to you. It's
okay,
amazing.
yeah.
There is Too Shy and the Tail Draggers.
Oh yeah.
Which they they played Pig Out, I think, or whatever.
They often played Pig Out, yeah.
Yeah, and I love. There's a song on there that they have on there, and I'm like, this is awesome. I love it. So I'm into their music that's on there. It's awesome.
That's cool.
But it's so dated.
Yeah,
that's the thing. It's like you listen to it and you're just like, this is like because I didn't know the year forever, and then I was like, this has to be like 2000, 2001.
Yeah,
that's the sound of it. There's still bands that sound grunge on it.
And is it like live? Is it all live?
No,
it's like
they're studio recordings.
It's studio recorded. Interesting.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, back to the Colourflies. So you started this when you're in high school. So how old were you? 16, you said?
Yeah.
And who were the first members, and like how did you get people to be like, you said you were doing it all yourself, so you were recording this music. Were you recording music before you were like making a band, like, or did it just kind of start by yourself?
I didn't have a band before I started making demos on my own, and I would just record the drums first and then the guitar over that, and the bass and the vocals. And I had the worst recording equipment you can imagine, you know what I mean? Like it was bad. It sounded bad. The demos are so bad sounding. But I kind of used the demos to form the band. So I was just like, this is kind of how it would go. If you want to be in this band, then this is kind of how the stuff we would play. And I knew Mady. Mady was a friend of mine, and she was really musical. Like she was already very musical. She didn't play bass before she was in the band either.
Oh, wow.
She picked up bass to join the band.
That's awesome.
And then I was like, isn't your boyfriend like a good, like, doesn't he play Rock Band really well? Like drums on Rock Band?
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, he's really good. And I'm like, okay.
Did he know how to play drums?
No.
Oh, he learned how to play drums too?
He learned how to play drums. So we were all just kind of like flying by the seat of our pants. And Scotty already knew how to play guitar fairly well. And we were all just kind of flying by the seat of our pants, and just sort of like our first rehearsal, we wrote a song. We did Master Exploder by Tenacious D. Like we like from the early on, we were actually kind of like decent, and then we kind of got good, and then people started coming to see us. I remember like
what was your first show?
The first show we played was like a New Year's Eve party in my friend Kaylin's basement, and he's in a band now called Colorworks. Colorworks.
This stole the first part of your name.
The score to settle. So we played in his basement, and terrible show. Honestly awful. But
what was awful about it?
just our
Sound?
ability to play, the sound.
Yeah.
Not great. You know, and it sucked too because there was like, 60 people there,
Yeah.
So but it kind of established that we were a band.
Yeah.
So, and it was fun still. Mm-hmm. But then we had a conversation afterwards, like, okay, we got to be good. So the second time we played, there was like 100 something people, and we were better. And then after that, there was like 300 people at this place called the Grail, and they let like.
That in Coeur d'Alene?
They let like kids in.
Yeah, well, they let anybody in anywhere in Coeur d'Alene.
They didn't care.
There's no rules in Coeur d'Alene.
They didn't care. I saw Rehab play there, and I was underage.
Oh,
so I was.
Was it not? Is it not an underage bar?
Not.
They just let anybody in. I remember going to the Grail for weird nights. I don't know why.
Maybe like it was underage. Like you could like hang out at a certain area.
Yeah.
But then like you couldn't go like other places. But they didn't care. They didn't care. That's like the point.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, we
So at this point, you're playing shows. Are you practicing just a ton?
Yeah, we practiced a lot. I mean, Devin and I really practiced a lot. We every time we would get together, we would play drums. He'd play drums. I play guitar. Mm-hmm. So we really established this rhythm thing that we had.
Yeah.
And then and those members of the band are the ones that made this last EP and the album. So, but then Devin moved 9 hours away, and Mady had a kid, and she's
So these are all the original. So they all kind of went and did their own way, own directions.
I mean, after we worked with somebody he was like an esteemed hero of ours in one of the bands that we really admired, like when we were growing up. He worked with in REM, and then we worked with John from the Posies, and we recorded at Robert Lang's studios, the first Foo Fighters album was done, and Kurt Cobain did his last set of vocals actually.
Oh wow!
For You're Right. And so yeah, they took the whole ride with me. That's
which cool.
which was crazy. Which was just days and days. We spent like all said and done probably a month on recording this album, which is called Dysphagia.
This is a new album that's coming out.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I kind of want to back up just a tiny little bit, just because like I'm looking at. So in 2017, you released "Been There." Seen it.
That's when we first got signed.
Lived it, licensed it. That's when you first got signed. Okay. So there's like Bandcamp stuff we can find.
Yeah, that album is insane because that was like really, we didn't have a record deal. We made that album and we're like, oh, we're gonna put it out just ourselves, just like everything we've ever done. And then all of a sudden we were playing this show in Coeur d'Alene and we got on video, and it was just like a bunch of like kids like our age destroying this tiny coffee shop while we're playing this like dirgy song with screaming and stuff like that, and somebody sent a video to Black House Records, Scott from Black House, and he's like, I think that, are you interested in like signing like a deal sort of thing? And then it just kind of went from there, and then we put that record out. And
what does it mean to get signed when you're like a brand new artist or like band? Like when someone says like, hey, I want to sign you, what does that exactly entail?
So then it was these 50-50 deals with indie labels that were like, you know, we'll put your record out and you've got to recoup the sales of the album that is spent. So say $1,000 was spent on the record. Before you make any money, you know, we'll print 500 copies and then you recoup the value and then you start making money. Yeah. And then you go on the road and you promote it and you do interviews and all these things. And I had no clue. So I was 22 or 21 or something like that. I had no clue. We had done this Buzz TV thing where this person came up from Hollywood to see us play in this tiny place with like, you know, 100 people hanging outside inside this house in Coeur d'Alene called the Decuck. And then after that, things just sort of blew up. And then like, so I I had no clue what there was. All of a sudden there was like magazine, like interviews and like press. Like I remember like we would have to do like these press radio thingies in different cities and stuff like that. But the album came out, and the first thing that came out on it was a UK magazine review.
Interesting.
And then we found out we were selling albums in
the UK.
Yeah, in the UK and like Belgium and stuff like that. And like, and the album, it was crazy because people were physically buying the album, which was surprised everybody.
Was it on CD?
Our label. It was on CD, yeah. Yeah. And I would go every time a batch of them sold, I would go and sign a note to those people, whoever bought it.
Oh, gotcha.
And kind of like just like a handwritten thing that would go with it.
Yeah.
So I went to the warehouse many times and signed these things.
That's cool.
You know, when I realized I was making, you know, I was doing it a lot. And then yeah, like it was a month or something like that, and we recouped the value of what was spent on our record.
That's awesome.
And which was crazy, we thought. And then one time, because I was like I had a ledger because I thought I'd be professional and just, I'm going to document all the ones I know that are going to go out. People I talked to that want to buy it, stuff like that. Went through Tumblr, was, you know, that was huge then too. And like one time it had been 24 hours and I was like, okay, this many are going to sell probably. And then Scott, you know, our label owner, sent me the spreadsheet from like the sales figures and stuff like that. And 100 more copies had sold. Wow. In 24 hours that I had anticipated. And I was just like, I was like, this has to be a mistake, like sort of thing. You know what I mean? And then it just, from there, we just, you know.
So after
we hit the road and toured.
You hit so like, what was your first tour like then? Where were you? Who did you tour with? And were you supporting someone, or you?
No, it was just us and then a bunch of bands that we were playing with, like in Portland, and like we hit the house show scene for sure, like pretty hard. And we were we almost got on a tour with Sponge, but their manager wanted like It was like $5,000 a show from like to fly the band in, like, and they were like a band that we really admired. So it was, but it would have been cool, but it was like not feasible.
Right.
So, but yeah, no. So it just kind of went from there. Like when that album ran its course or cycle or whatever, we was like, okay, then we're gonna do our really ambitious album because we think that we have the ability to play these things, and yeah. And so that kind of set the course for what's going on. I mean,
yeah,
that album, I look at that album now and I'm like, it's so naive, like in a way that like only in a way that if you didn't know it was coming up, that's the only way you would have put it out.
Right.
Not like I'm embarrassed by it necessarily. It's just that it's the first time we really went in the studio and, did guitar layers and people love that.
Yeah.
Thing,
did you record that locally or?
Actually, yeah, a lot of that was recorded at Crab Walk, which doesn't exist anymore.
Okay.
But
Who ran Crab Walk?
Jared Crab.
Okay.
And he was great. And then some of it was recorded with this guy from Coeur d'Alene, Adam Anderson, and he was in a band called Adam and the Androids, and he and I had such a good sensibility working together. That stuff like Talithia de Flavor, which is like this weird prog thing that has like transcripts from X-Files episodes in it, and like the War of the Worlds. I was like so into this like weird nouveau art thing that I called it like a French name because I just thought, I don't know, I was just so into like, I had this vision, whatever it was,
Then this is a side thing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And during this time, like, so this is like when your first album's coming out, like where's streaming at? Like how's stream, like, cause it's different than it is today.
I didn't I didn't pay attention to streaming.
Yeah.
That's the thing that, that really, if I had the foresight that's like sort of the definite alternative kind of punk rock side of me is I was playing shows.
Right.
So I didn't even think of like YouTube hits or like streaming or Spotify or anything like that, really. Even though that stuff came out on all those things.
Right.
I didn't even think of like, I knew videos. I knew we had to make videos.
Right.
I enjoyed making videos, so that was no problem. But I didn't even think of like, Spotify numbers or pumping Spotify numbers.
Right. It didn't, like, it's never like, you never thought to like,
no,
it wasn't that.
I just wasn't that important to me. And it wasn't that important to the label at the time, I don't think.
Right.
Really.
I mean, I feel like talking with a lot of hip hop artists, like it seems to be kind of the driving force behind, like, you go and look at someone's follower count or how many listens something has, and I'm just like, and I think that's such a lame way of like trying to judge an artist, because like that, or a band, just because like there could be amazing artists out there and they could be having like have 50 listeners on Spotify. Doesn't mean it doesn't really give any weight to like how good someone is. So I think, and there's ways to manipulate it as well. So like I think I'm just curious to know if back then if it even mattered, and it sounds like it didn't really matter. So
yeah, it didn't. Like we were just playing shows, we were just in a van. You know? Like it's crazy to me that you could even corral me or any of the band members to do an interview. Because I remember like I saw recently there was like this magazine interview where we're on the road. And I was like, that doesn't, like, there's a picture of us on the road and there's like an interview, and I'm like, how would they have done that? Like, it's just wild. And then, but now it's like so pertinent, like you kind of have to play the game in the sense of like, well, if you don't have, we have 30,000 whatever, listens, then you're kind of not in the game. Even if your music's incredible,
right?
Even if your music's really great, if you're not, if people don't think you're putting in the work, then it's kind of worthless as far as like empirically,
for sure.
Like as far as like, so it's like now it's kind of important. So now I'm happy to be in a position where it's like I realize that, and we have the following and we have the numbers,
So let's talk about the sound a little bit. Like, how would you explain how would you describe the Colourflies sound? Because I have trouble giving it like a genre, but like I can see went through your Instagram first, and I was like, oh, there's a lot of inspiration from the 90s, and then I was like and then I listened to it, and there is very much like it's very grunge or like oriented. I shouldn't say oriented, but like it has like that old 90s feel to it.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's true. I just like I maybe it's just me going through your Instagram and you being very like having a lot of stuff that calls back to the 90s. But maybe that's just me trying to put it somewhere, but like how would you describe it?
So like I love, it's like the way I see it is like, that's like the decade I grew up in. I was born in 92.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like I wasn't cognizant at the time. It's not like I wasn't influenced by Sugar Ray.
Right.
No, everybody was.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, but I as much as I love like that stuff, I heavily enjoy the 80s. I heavily enjoy the 70s and love 70s fashion.
Yeah.
Jimi Hendrix is one of my favorite artists ever. There's just like, I don't like being put in a box, but it's like, but it, I understand why people have to classify things, and, well, people be like, oh, you sound like the Pixies, or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's like, I'm like, well, you realize one of the Pixies' first albums from the 80s.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so it's like, I think that I don't see it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
maybe it's just me growing up in the 90s.
Well,
like I watched a ton of MTV, and like MTV was just, it was either rap or it was rock, and there's pop too.
Yeah.
But like, and being in the Northwest, we were heavily influenced by Pearl Jam.
Oh yeah.
And Nirvana, and all those groups, and so that's when I think of, when I was listening to it, I was like, oh, like I can draw that. But
Yeah.
it's also like I understand what you're saying. Like, I don't like to give comparisons just because I just want to give like listeners like an idea of what, when you go listen to a Colourfly song, like what you're going to experience. But it sounds like you're going to get a different experience every time too.
Well, I think what people miss out on is like my favorite band is the Beatles, and one of my other favorite bands, and actually who we're actually pretty blessed to have worked with now, is, we didn't work with them, but one of my favorite bands is Cheap Trick. And they had loud guitars with like melodies, and you know what I mean? And and we're actually working with their mixing engineer on some of the stuff. So I'm actually a huge fan of that.
So how did this come about? Like working with all these, you've kind of given a list of some, you mentioned that you were working with who at the very beginning, what'd you say?
Lemonheads.
Lemonheads.
Oh yeah, Evan Dano.
How did it come to work with all these?
So yeah, and that's another thing is like, it would also probably help if I wasn't in a similar peerage of these 90s rock, legends. Like the stories I have of like, it's kind of like this thing where it's like, that generation of musicians really appreciates my band, and over and over again has it been a thing where it's like Will Schwartz from Imperial Teen or Rachel Hayden from That Dog inviting me to L.A. For a reunion show, and Joey Santiago's there and from the Pixies, and it's like it is like, it's hard to get out of that because it's like, I do appreciate that music so much, that it's like, that was like my teenage year music for sure.
Right.
Is like, I was the alt kid. I just was like, I was just, any deep cut and Pavement song, I was like, oh, I love this, like, so it's like, stuff like that, like,
so now you've kind of gotten into you've met these people, and so they want to help. Like,
yeah,
they
and
wanna
I
help
think
create and
Yeah, and I think, but the cool thing now is I'm able to go back further, where it's like I'm working with somebody who's in Big Star. And Big Star were a huge 70s band, or were a 70s band that didn't get the acclaim at the time that they deserved.
Mm-hmm.
And now, it's that much easier to have my influence come from that. And you realize that so many bands influenced the bands of the 90s, Big Star being one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Evan Dando did the Ballad of El Goodo on the Empire Records soundtrack,
Okay.
Like just there's these influences that are snuck in, I think. And that's always what I've tried to do. Like there's as many songs as I have that, sound like, Velocity Girl. There's songs that sound like Talking Heads, I just always wanted St. Vincent, whom I love.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kate's the Elephant, who are one of my favorite bands ever, Yeah, there's just all sorts of things in there that it's hard to,
So
put one thing on it.
Exactly. No, I get that. I mean, it's definitely hard. I feel like,
I wrote a song about it.
Which one is it? Is it?
I'm going to perform it.
Oh, you're going to perform it. Nice.
I had a feeling.
Well, that's the other thing. Everyone who we're gonna at the end of this, we're gonna have a performance from Matt. So I'm looking forward to that. And I mean, what is next? Like, what's coming up? Like you've signed with a new label.
Yeah. So that's what I was going to say. Is like that's the cool thing. Is like so. Backtrack a little bit.
Yeah.
We were on this one label.
Okay.
And we were on it for like 4 months, 5 months, and then it just didn't work out. They got a new music supervisor. It's just the old rock and roll story over and over again. But they put out our last EP, which I thought at the time was like, I don't know if I want to do an EP. But like, I'm happy it came out because it's like, it's gotten us that much further and it's really great. But it was going to be songs that were going to be on our record, so I didn't know what that was about. So, but it's like, so out of nowhere, we are not working with them, basically. And
gotcha.
That's its own
That's
thing.
its own thing. Yeah.
That's its own thing where it's like, it was a intense 5 months or whatever. But now, recently, I've been talking to a label out of Seattle, and so we're going to sign with Damaged Halo Records, which this is an exclusive. Damaged Halo Records out of Seattle, and they're going to put out a record, and there'll probably be a summer single in August.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
that's like, how did you get connected with them? And like, is it just like they saw you? You said they heard your EP.
So so it was like I think it was kind of my friend from this band called Kitty Junk in Seattle that like really like kind of opened the door for me, and their band is amazing. If you haven't seen Kitty Junk, go see them.
Go see Kitty Junk.
They are incredible. 2-piece, great band. Angie, Ryan. Yeah, we got hooked up, and then we were just sort of talking, and all their bands are in overseas. So they don't have a band in America.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it was like, well, I'll go to Seattle and we can kind of talk about it. It's not that far away. I'll take a Greyhound.
Right.
I'll fly myself over there. And so, yeah, I'm kind of excited for the future, I think, because the album will finally come out. It's been a long time. And so I'll go over there and discuss track listing, and it's cool that I can actually visit,
Yeah. How long? So this new album, like, how long has this been in work? It's been in the works.
Years.
Yeah.
It's been for years. There's all sorts of special guests, that were on it, and crazy stuff like where it's like Aaron from like Third Eye Blind gonna sing a track when we're in LA, and Greg Richling executive produced it from the Wallflowers.
Oh wow.
Whom I love, that band. One of my mother's favorite bands. I actually went to LA and we sequenced things in his sound studio, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Wasn't the Wallflowers just recently here in Spokane?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not in the band anymore.
Oh, right.
now he's making movies. Actually, we were VIP guest listed for his movie. He made a sequel of The Wrecking Crew, which is like a movie about session musicians in the 70s.
Okay.
And then he made this movie that's the sequel of that. And I got to talk to, well, first of all, the the keyboard player for Spinal Tap was there, which was pretty cool. And the Wilco bass player was there too, or keyboard maybe. And but I got to talk to the guy that his name is Gooch, I think is his surname. I got to talk to him, and he was Don Henley's guitar player.
Oh, okay.
And he wrote "All She Wants to Do Is Dance" from Coyote Ugly, which is classic.
Yeah.
And I asked him if he'd seen that movie, if he knew that his song was in that movie, and he's like, "Yeah, did you see that? You should have seen The Check." Yeah, I've seen that movie. It's like one of my favorite bad movies ever.
Yeah, it's a terrible fun movie to watch.
It's pretty good.
Even that song that Leanne Rimes sings at the end is
Can't Find the Moonlight.
Can't Find the Moonlight. It's because when they're like building up to her like writing the song, and it's just it's like when Britney Spears is like writing the song in like Crossroads, and
ooh, that's such a good reference too. Yeah, it really is.
They're like oh, like this, like oh. Yeah. Shit. I'm just like,
well, because as much as I love music, I am a huge, and that's I think people miss the boat on sort of my influences. I'm a huge pop culture person.
Yeah,
like a first place in trivia kind of guy.
Yeah,
so like 80s trivia and 70s and like any movie thing I'm into, any TV show thing I'm into.
Yeah.
Sure. So I got to geek out on like him being.
That's so cool. I was speaking of session documentaries that recently they did that. It was I guess it was the 40th anniversary of Thriller, and they did that document. They did a documentary about what went into making Thriller, from like the set, like from a lot of the producers and
Clive Davis,
and and I was like, this is really interesting. Like them interviewing like the guitarists that are like writing, like, and they're just writing
it's
parts
Lou
of
Baker, from Toto, and Eddie Van Halen,
right?
Yeah.
No, there's so much in it. I was like, you don't really get that when you just listen to the music, and it is. I need to watch that. The Wrecking Crew. That sounds like
you'd love it. You'd love that one. That one's really good. Then the sequel, when it comes out, is amazing.
Yeah,
they talk about is their kids.
Oh, okay.
It's because the Wrecking Crew are the people that did like Beach Boys Pet Sounds. As much as people think that's a Beach Boys record, it's mostly a session musician record.
Wow,
and it's one of my favorite albums of all time.
It's a great.
But
album.
it's Brian Wilson being like, you play this, screaming, of course.
Yeah,
it's not right yet.
There's Brian Wilson one. Like, is he a big influence?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess of course he has to be, right?
There's a lyric on this record that's like, I just taken straight from a Beach Boys song.
That's awesome.
Sometimes I feel very sad. So that's what the lyric is from. I just wasn't made for these times.
I'm happy that he is still with us, just because I have a friend who's like very like, he'll go see Brian Wilson anytime he's near Washington.
One of my huge heroes. One of his favorite movie is Norbert too, with Eddie Murphy.
What? That is so random. I
read this interview. It was like what's the last movie you saw? Oh, Norbert with Eddie Murphy. Like, what's your favorite movie? Oh, Norbert with Eddie Murphy.
that is really funny.
But the lore of Brian Wilson is insane too, where he's just like his manager like locked him in like a room, like forcing to write, and like he like lost his mind too. And like I read they like ordered like 50 cheeseburgers in a day or something like that.
Yeah. I forgot there's a couple movies that the most recent one is the one with Paul Dano, and it kind of takes place over the course of like the beginning of his like time with the Beach Boys, and then like the second part where he's like kind of coming out of all the craziness that was being a part of the Beach Boys. I think I said John Cusack. I forget the name of the movie is called, but it's a interesting take on it. I don't know how accurate it is though.
Right. You ever listen to his album Smile?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember being on the I used to go on these like 3-day Greyhound rides to see my parents because they lived in Alabama. They moved. They moved when I graduated high school. They moved to Alabama, and I stayed behind. So my whole family kind of moved
to Alabama.
And I stayed here.
Yeah,
kind of started my life. But I remember like going and visiting them and listening to like Smile and then Smile, which is like the Sessions thing, and it's like those songs are wild.
Yeah. I haven't listened to it a ton, but I
it's
know
pretty good. It's
I remember when it came out
weird.
that it was like very. I mean, it was very because it was something some of the first music he'd made in a while, right?
Yeah, it was it's esoteric. It's very strange.
Yeah,
it's very strange music.
Love and Mercy is a movie I'm thinking of.
I'll have to check that out.
But no, it's I mean, I just love music. I mean, I have to say, like, I don't listen to a ton of rock anymore, but like, or in this genre, like, but I do though. It's in your music is. I mean, I need to go deeper into it just because I haven't spent a ton of time with it.
I think when the new record comes out, it'll be a really good representation of all of it. That was kind of what we wanted to do, was make our, we were really, with the producers and like making, spending days on it, we were really trying to make something that was like so expansive you couldn't ever put us in one box again. Yeah. And that's sort of what it is.
Yeah. So honestly, who went into, like, who was the big pieces of it? Like, obviously are you writing and producing all of it? And do you have bandmates too?
Yeah. The bandmate, I write kind of the kernel of the song, and then everyone kind of puts their own thing in it. Okay. And Devin wrote too. But everyone kind of writes their own parts for sure. And there are things on it that I was hands-on producing, but a lot of it was just our producer would be like, okay, take the end of that's 16 times, make it 4 times. Okay. Because nobody wants to hear that 16 times. You know what I mean? Just stuff that, like, my sensibility, I'd be like, I don't care. I'm going to do that instead. Yeah. So stuff that, like, it was pretty well organized by the band before we went, so it's like a lot of this stuff.
And this is a lot of stuff that you're performing right now too?
I haven't played, but that's the weird thing about when this album comes out, like a tour around it, is like I've played those songs for years. Yeah. Because... and right now I have a band that's playing the songs here, with like a new drummer, and like my buddy Tom's playing guitar, and so we're kind of like writing new stuff, and also like we play stuff that like we've been playing for a while. So yeah, definitely some of the stuff we play still now, but
do you do a lot of shows around Spokane? Like, I know you I mentioned Pride, but like, do you kind of do pop-ups, or you just kind of like do gigs when they come? Like, what's coming up in the future? How can you see the Colourflies?
Well, that Pride thing was actually Coeur d'Alene, but we played Knitting Factory. We played Nido. Nido is kind of one of our favorite places because it just gets packed. Yeah, people just come in droves, and then it's just insane. Yeah. Knitting Factory is kind of fun. I enjoy that. We did 2 shows there this year, and we do Big Dipper too. Yeah. We played the last one. I think the last show at Lucky You. Okay. When it was closing down.
Before
it became the Chameleon.
Before the Chameleon, like the. I was at the Hip Hop's farewell to Lucky You, but there was like the real last one, and I remember seeing. I remember seeing your name on that bill, but I haven't had a chance to see you live yet. I need to come. Yeah, I need to rock it. See a Colourflies.
We'll give you a guest vocal.
Oh, I don't know if I could do that.
We'll give you a tambourine.
Okay, I can do that. I could be the dancer, like in the old like in the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones.
Oh, classic.
Like they always had a dancer.
Let's face it, it's a great album.
In those ska bands.
We almost got signed to that label Tang that they were on.
Oh, really?
Like that was before we signed with Black House. We were talking to Tang for a while.
Yeah. So on this new album, like, is a part of the delay? Was it like this COVID related? Is it just like life related? Just life. Just taking a long time to make an album.
Well, some of it's delay from label at the time. Yeah. Some of it is just production schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it was just I went insane. I lost my mind making it because I was just like, it's got to be this. And I was it's got to be this, that it just got to the point where it got to be such a drag.
Yeah. Are you perfectionist? Or is it just like or is it like you just listen to something too much? You just like little bit. That's an artist thing though, right?
I'm my version of a perfectionist, which is like, well, I have like synesthesia. So like, I can't, if it's not the right color in my mind, or right texture or right flavor in my mind, because my mind's so screwed up, then I can't vibe. I can't vibe with it or gel with it. It drives me insane.
Yeah.
And it's so inconsequential to somebody else.
Right.
Sometimes.
Totally.
They just don't get it. So it's like,
I talked to someone the other day about an artist. He was like saying his song is a B+ right now, and he's like, I cannot release this until it's an A+++. And I'm like, sometimes B+ is good, right? And he's like, not in music. And I'm like, and I understand that because like podcasting and music is totally a different thing. Like,
well, it's so weird because like there's the two sides of me. I explained this the other day to somebody. The two sides of me that's like, I want the grandiosity of something to be, like there's a song on our record called Dismay that has like strings and sort of orchestral thing, kind of like, the first thing we ever did with strings and like make it sound really big and, huge and like a real, the guy, the person who did Hey Soul Sister did the vocals and stuff like that. Just like let's get this thing to be sort of a hit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it has the potential. But then there's a side of me that's like, we have a song called I'm So Tired, and it's like slackery vocal. And it's like, there's that side of me that puts on this to come in here. And then there's a side of me that wears a sweatshirt and the holy jeans and both of those sides exist within my music.
Right.
Our music. So it's like there are times where it's like, I'll do one vocal and I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just a rock song.
And like that doesn't, and like you can kind of go with how it goes.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm just
yeah.
It's like it's like a Beck song,
Yeah.
Whatever.
Sometimes they're the best songs though, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I can vibe with it, but then sometimes I just can't. And maybe it's because I build it up in my mind to be something better or different.
Yeah.
And then I just try really hard to make it that thing.
Yeah.
Like when you listen to Bomb Pop off that EP, it's like, like we really tried on that, and that's on the record, the new album that's gonna come out too. But it's like we really tried to make that, as big and as full and as grandiose as we possibly could because the song meant a lot.
Yeah. I want to talk about the video that you did. You did the Spokane Fair.
That, yeah, yep.
The 1997. Well, it's like it's one thing. It's the first thing that you clicked. It's on in your bio and your Instagram. It's but it's on like Blank TV.
Oh yeah, classic.
And how did this? Is this 1997? Is this something on? Is this older? Is this an older song?
No, that was supposed to be on the record. I mean, that was the first single that the last label released. They were really banging on it, and they, for good measure, like they thought that, that would be the one that would really connect with people. And
gotcha.
Sort of, they were right, but Bomb Pop was the one that like really got there. So, that's like quantification of like thousands of numbers in difference.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, it's pretty interesting. But no, I always wanted a video that was like that, where it's like I'm in on it. I mean, it's heavily, speaking of contemporary influences, that's Childish Gambino.
Okay, yeah.
2005.
Totally.
It's not even contemporary because that was like 2010, but you know what I mean?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I was in love with Because the Internet.
Yeah, that was
and like in the script that went with it, and like I'm such a huge fan.
Yeah. How do you like his new song that just came out last week?
I love it.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see his movie.
I'm very excited for all that he's doing.
I love the video that they put out for the Littlefoot but Bigfoot too. Awesome. He's so good.
He's such a he's such he's a spectacular
He's
artist.
a Renaissance man.
Yeah, like you can't really, in my mind, he can't do wrong. But I need to just maybe jump on going to go see him when he's in Seattle next.
He has the best freestyle video I've ever seen.
What's that?
He has the best. He has a freestyle video that is incredible on a radio station.
Okay.
With Rosenberg. And,
okay.
And it's so good.
I wonder if I've seen this before.
It's the greatest.
I love a good freestyle. Well, I mean, after this, I mean, so what is next? Like, what do you have coming up in Spokane that, like, you can talk about that won't, like, I think you mentioned you're going to be on PBS's?
Yeah. In December.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be playing on TV, national syndicated TV.
That'd be cool. I mean, those specials that they do are really awesome. Like, it's a great way to promote local musicians to a broader audience. Do you hope to possibly be part of Volume? Like, is that
that'd be good. We played Volume like 4 years in a row.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but when it was going on.
When it's going on, yeah.
I wouldn't. It'd be fun to play.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind.
I've been talking to people about if they're playing, what's going on with Volume. I don't know anything about it, other than
it's in fall.
Yeah,
which is really strange.
All I know is it's happening in September.
Used to be in June, I think.
Yeah, and so it will be. I think most of the venues are going to be inside, but there might be a couple outside venues. Who knows? I hope that you are there, but who knows what?
Well, I'll be there.
You'll be
whether
there,
I'm playing
whether
or
you're playing out. Yeah.
I'll be there in spirit.
Yeah, but what's the best way to follow the Colourflies?
It's just Instagram, probably.
Spillhouse. Do you have a Colourflies Instagram that I missed?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll follow that.
Okay.
All the links will be in the description of this show. Before we get into doing the acoustic set, I always ask this question. The last question of the show is, why Spokane? What keeps you here? Are you gonna? It seems like you're gonna be leaving here someday.
No, I think for everything Spokane isn't, it also is. I've talked to people that have toured, their national acts that are, we played with and stuff like that, and they say there's not a place like Spokane all around the United States. And I've been to most of the United States, and I agree. And I think Spokane has like a sort of magic about it. Mm-hmm. I don't know why, but it has a thing that I haven't found anywhere else.
Yeah. There's something special about it. I've talked to a lot of people about this just because, I mean, it's, I have a podcasting studio here. I have a podcast about Spokane, but I do agree. Like, there is something special about Spokane, and I think it is getting more special and better. And I think there's better opportunities here. And with the globalization of like everything, like, it's very easy to be a musician in Spokane that travels to LA, travels to Seattle, wherever.
I travel so much and play and tour and stuff like that I don't really need to move.
Right.
Because I go to different places.
Of course,
and this is home. Mm-hmm. And I'm like gone like every weekend usually. But
do you leave and go and record, or you
sometimes I just come just go play a show out in Richland or wherever, or Seattle and California, and then come back and
do you do I mean, obviously you do. Are you on track to do new festivals in 2025?
I don't know. Well, yeah, we're playing Stick Fest. Oh man, we call it Ant Fest because our guitar player got bitten by fire ants there. It's pretty fun. That's like out in the middle of nowhere. I don't know where it is.
Okay,
actually, honestly. So don't come.
But it's a festival.
But it's a festival.
Cool.
So we got some that stuff going on. So
but that's stuff that like your label will handle for you, or is that like stuff you do yourself?
That's the cool thing is like now we have this new label is like, let's book a overseas tour. Let's do West Coast. Let's and even if that's just me playing acoustically, hey, I'm into that. Yeah. Do the John Mayer trip.
Yeah.
I'm good to that.
I mean, John Mayer's great.
Huge fan.
Yeah.
Big fan.
Well,
not from the 90s.
Not from 2001.
That's right.
Why do you think he might have released some of his stuff in 99?
I'm kind of upset that nobody talks about my love and influence from the Pussycat Dolls. Nobody hears that in our music.
like I said, I need to go deeper on your music just because I'm not as well versed, but I definitely think that, I mean, what I've listened to, I enjoy, and I think it is very, like, it is. It's, I wouldn't say it's genreless, but like it's definitely like you definitely try different things, and like a lot of artists don't do that. They want to stay in a certain lane, or they
not a fan.
And I don't like that. I like it when people try stuff and like they can add, or they can add different elements to their music. It doesn't need to just be, all one thing. Like, and
I agree with that.
It can be very, very, very different. Like, it's art. Like, it's not meant to be, like you said, it's not meant to be put in a box. And I think we all want to put stuff in boxes because like that makes it easy. But
Absolutely.
like, I was listening to this artist on Spotify and I was like, oh, this is really good hip hop, like pop with a lot of influences. But then it was like labeled alternative, and I'm like, well, that's interesting, but like it doesn't really need to be.
How would you label Animal Collective? Like that band is
it's true,
unbelievably like unlabelable.
Yeah.
Like
and the same would go for like Childish Gambino. Like it's just like he does a lot of different genres. It's not just hip hop.
I do have a quick thing to say about Spokane as far as a place to live. I remember one time I was hanging out with my guitar player Tom, and we were watching YouTube, and an ad came on, and it was a Spokane ad. Like it was like a move to Spokane sort of thing,
like a
right?
visit Spokane, or
it
like
was like And we watched that thing, and we were like, "What city are they showing on here? This isn't Spokane." Like it was just like so like.
Oh man, I want to see this ad now.
Yeah, it was wild. I was like,
is it a new ad?
It was like, this is like a couple years ago, but I was like,
okay.
I don't think that they're like, this looked like California.
Oh,
I was like, this is nothing like,
showing like beaches.
It was wild. Yeah, they just showed like an ocean, palm trees.
I think tourism videos are. I have an old one on my Instagram that still gets a lot of like comments and stuff on it, just like of Spokane in the 80s.
I had seen that before.
Oh, okay.
You'd post. I saw it because I was like looking up Spokane. Like in the past, and I saw that what is the tune? It's Daydream Believer.
Oh, is that what it is?
No. It's what a day for it's Love and Spoonful.
Oh, that's. I think you commented on the thing on the post, and I was like, I don't know what it is, but it's definitely like either stolen or
it's ripped off of Daydream by Love and Spoonful. That's a non-90s band, people.
Well, that was 88 when that
right.
promo
That
video
song
came
is
out.
from like the 70s, it's like 60s.
Oh, right, yeah.
So yeah, no, that was wild.
That's funny. That totally. I wonder if it just. I mean, that's pre-internet, obviously. So like, someone stole something and got away with it.
I love Spokane commercials.
Oh, they're great.
Even Spokane commercials now. I cannot believe we live in 2024 and they're putting those commercials out.
It's great.
They are awful.
It's the one thing about watching like local TV, if you still watch local TV, is like getting the local ads still is like.
It's just like.
It's fun.
I don't get it. Like it'd be like I can't imagine editing that. You've seen what you've shot, you've edited it, and you've put that out.
Yeah.
Because it's not great. It's just like we live in 2024.
Right.
Like how are we still have the sensibilities of the 80s in a commercial?
I have no idea.
And you can't just say, well, it's camp for the sake of being camp, because it's not.
It's not like Lincoln Rhett. They did like a really good. They're a comedy duo, but they got famous by making this like furniture store ad in like the South, and it was basically like a black person, Hispanic person, like, hey, like we aren't racist here, like come shop at our, and it's very like campy, and it's meant to be campy, but like I feel like a lot of anywhere with local like TV, like you're gonna get some really bad stuff.
I just watch compilations of cringe commercials all the time. I'm such a big Tim and Eric fan.
Oh, yeah.
And that's such a thing that, like, you know, the greatest thing that ever happened to me, one of them, is that one of my friends called into their office hours thing, one of my fans, and said, hey, will you listen to my friend's band, The Colourflies? And Tim had just heard, he said he was going to, and then somebody sent him Death Grips to listen to, and he hated Death Grips. Hated it.
Oh, no.
And so DJ Doug Pound's like, do you want me to look up that band, The Colourflies? And he's like, no, which is the greatest. And I have this video called Tim Heidecker Refuses to Listen to The Colourflies. And I put it up online, and it's the greatest thing
That's awesome.
All my music aside, not important. That's
much
more important.
Yeah. I love Office Hours. I need to watch or listen to it more just because it's such good, like, off the wall comedy.
It's so good. I just watched the Office Hours people go on Howie Mandel's show.
Oh, really?
It's so good.
I haven't listened to Howie Mandel's show is that a podcast? Or
yeah, he's got a podcast.
I'm thinking of someone different. I'm thinking of Adam Carolla, which is not the same.
No.
But I didn't even know Howie Mandel had a podcast.
It's pretty good.
Well, Matt, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for being on Spokane. But we're not done yet. You're gonna play a couple songs, one song, two songs.
I am. I'm gonna also make a correction. I said Clive Davis for Thriller, and I don't think that's who it is, and I can't remember who it actually is.
Oh, if it's not Clive Davis, Thriller producer. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's Clive Davis.
I don't know.
Oh, Quincy Jones.
Quincy.
There we go.
That's what I meant. Quincy Jones.
But Clive had something to
I don't know.
do with it.
Who knows?
I don't know. I don't know. But it is Quincy Jones.
I knew it was wrong. This whole time.
Well, thank you for correcting it.
Right.
That is important. Quincy Jones needs that reference.
I know. He needs the plug, just like Liquid Death.
Oh, man. Please. Not this, but that. I would rather get that than Topo Chico.
It's just water. Mm-hmm. Wink.
It is just water. All right. Well, we're going to do a little setting up, and we'll be back in a second with... Are these all Colourflies?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
All 90s covers.
All 90s covers.
1, 2, 3, 4. Good night, 93. What are they gonna say to me? It's every time I breathe. You're this, you're that, you're incomplete. Every time I write, they take out their pen and they paint it white. What are they gonna say? What are they gonna say? What are they gonna say today? Good night, 93. What are they gonna say to me? Every time I breathe, you're tall, you're fat, you're ugly. Every time I wish, they take another piece from the bubblegum dish. What am I gonna say? What am I gonna say? What am I gonna say? You're just salty, base what you say. And when will you try to write anything contemporary? Good night, 93. Good night, 93 and me. Good night, 93. Good night, 93. This will be on our next single. It's called Dandy.